Welcome to the Salt Lake County Republican Party broadcast, your online source for party business, news, events, and where we keep the republic one broadcast at a time. Hello, wherever you are inside the state of Utah or Salt Lake County or just across the great American Republic. This is Nathan Ricks, producer of the Salt Lake County GOP podcast, and I have with me none other than our distinguished party chair, Mr. Chris Null. Go ahead, Chris. We also have a special guest today. Go ahead and introduce her.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me again, Nate. Today we have Dea Theodore, County Councilwoman Dea Theodore. Dea, it's great to have you on here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Chris. Thank you.
So, yeah, there's been a lot going on recently. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about was with the Salt Lake County Parks and Rec changing room ordinance that you brought up recently. That became kind of a hot topic and something that the party...
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, the party, we sent out an email and some messaging just to kind of make sure that people were aware of it and to get people to the meeting. How did that go? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. This is not something that I just randomly brought forward, in the past week or so. This is something I've been working on for months. We had an individual who encountered a biological male, actually a female who encountered a biological male in one of our county facility changing rooms. And she brought this to my attention after she had reached out to the mayor and Parks and Rec to try and get a solution, and she wasn't getting anywhere. And so she contacted my office, and I've been working with her ever since.
So
that's how this actually started.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So she reached out to the mayor first, or the Parks and Rec?
I believe it was actually Parks and Rec. I think she put the mayor's office on there as well, but she didn't feel comfortable with the response she was getting. And because they just said, hey, this is how it is. And there's no policy and, sorry, pretty much. So they said that they wanted, everyone to they didn't want to discriminate, basically. And so they sent her actually to, the family changing room. They directed her there, not the male.
Yeah. So that's the interesting thing. That's kind of where what I saw going on. I felt uncomfortable with as well, right? So it's a considered, the changing room is considered a safe place for women, for girls, and here we are. There's a biological male entering, and now I don't know the entire story. Did the biological male expose themselves, or were they just there while they were?
I believe they were just there. I believe she came out of the shower in a towel, if I recall the whole story, and there was a biological male hanging out, standing there, which scared her because you don't expect that. And so,
of course not.
She was startled very much. So
yeah, common sense says if you're coming out,
so that's
you're in a safe place, and that you're not going to be exposing yourself to somebody. Right?
And even when you see the same sex, someone changing, it just kind of startles you a little bit when when someone's standing there completely naked. You're like, well, okay, but you don't expect it to be a man, ever.
Yeah.
So anyway, dressed or not dressed,
Right. Yeah.
So
what I find is that this got turned into a transgender conversation, which honestly, I realize that's kind of how it came about, probably because the question is now who's transgender and things like that. But the reality is it's more of just are you safe in the place where you are going to be changing, right? And that to me, that's right. You've got young girls in there and things, and because of the transgender conversation, it's left the women and the girls exposed, despite who it is, right? Whether they're transgender or straight or not, they can go in and take advantage of the current policy, and that's, to me, that was the concern. Is that how you saw it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's the big concern, because we're allowing anybody in. It doesn't matter. And so that's really scary to me, especially when the council just approved unanimously to have our rec centers opened up to the youth starting the summer. So that means we're inviting more children into our rec centers without a policy in the changing room, which is scary. So we really need to look at this seriously, and maybe our whole policy as far as what's going on. at the rec centers. So changing
Right.
rooms, the whole thing. So it's something to look at, especially with that in mind. So there's a lot of things to consider. And so
Mhm.
this does, so that's why I brought this forward. I've been working on this for a while. My staff has been working on this, and we've been working closely with our council attorney and the district attorney's office because I want to make sure it's legally sound. I didn't want to set us up for problems. And from what I had drafted, it's legal. It's legally sound.
Yeah.
And this is the best draft that I could get. And so I went from there. I started meeting with people, my colleagues. I've met with members of the trans community. I've met with others and getting feedback and trying to understand things that I might not have known, and just trying to get all perspectives, which is my due diligence in this process. And so I felt like I did that. But
Yeah.
based on what I did find, I just still have an issue with men in the female changing room. And so I want to keep working on this. We did bring it forward on Tuesday, and I know there were some of my colleagues who are supportive of this, and they want to see something happen. They are concerned with privacy. Now, how we tailor the wording in our ordinance might be a different story for them. I don't know yet, but
Mhm.
I thought I had votes. I thought I actually had votes for this to pass, but I did have a council member that wasn't there, and then I had some people who just kind of, I don't know, weren't on board when it actually came to the table. So we tabled this for now, but it's still something that I'm going to take serious and that I want to keep working on and hope to bring back to a vote.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you're addressing this. I think it's really important. I have heard an argument. Look, there's two things. One is, okay, the county can be sued, but more importantly to me is that the young girls and women are protected. Because if there was some kind of an incident,
Absolutely.
worst case scenario, rape, right? That's far worse
Yeah.
to me than being sued. So I'm so glad that you're willing to
Yeah.
take this on and consider this. I'll take 10 lawsuits over a rape, or some kind of an incident like that. And so
Yeah,
I
and
really appreciate
I don't know
that.
if that's what it's going to take for them to understand that we do need something in place, because it was
God
said,
forbid.
oh well,
Yeah.
it just happened, this only happened one time, that's all we know about within 10 years. I don't know if it's all that we know about, because a lot of people don't report this kind of incident. So I don't know if that's even true, but it's the first person who was courageous enough to actually stand up and say something, because not all people are willing to do that. So, and just because it was one time, how many times do we need it to happen before
Right.
we actually take action? What's it going to
Well,
take?
yeah, I'll tell you. When this came out, I had a family member come to me and said, "This happened to me too," and it wasn't Salt Lake County, granted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
they said, look, I didn't think to report it because we were in a hurry. And to
Yeah.
be fair, it wasn't a county recreational facility, but it
That's
happens
okay,
in
but
other
it's happening.
places. Yeah,
It
exactly.
is.
And
It
it
totally
wasn't
is.
even, and again, it was a situation where it wasn't a transgender person. It was just a person who decided to take advantage of the policy, right, that was in place. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just think it's such an important policy, something we definitely need to be protecting the women and children. And I understand the whole transgender thing has complicated the conversation, but I still think that
Yeah.
it's our responsibility to protect these people. So, well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for taking that on and
Can
for
I just add
continuing.
one more interesting component too on that?
Sure.
What's really interesting is when I started this policy, is that we don't, like I said, we don't really have a policy, but our Parks and Rec people did have signs up, and it said, just read it to you: men and boys over 4 years of age are not allowed in the ladies' locker room. Please use our family changing room. Well, guess what? All those signs have been removed now since I've been drafting this policy.
Oh wow. And that,
Yeah, no joke. I have
wow,
a
that's kind of
picture of
concerning.
it from, yeah, it is, right? I have a picture of it from August, and I was at the rec center just last week, and that sign is gone. So
Interesting.
there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so
Welcome in,
so is
man.
there well, is there any interim solutions until this gets resolved that you can think of, that we can, any steps that can be taken, or do we just need to get this done?
Dave, I would propose that we just put, hey, all of our changing rooms are now fluid gender, right? At least we're warning people what's going on before they come in, and you're at your own risk.
Hmm.
So that's something that he mentioned. I mean, that's something that we could do. But until then, I think the legislature has some plans as well. So I'm really interested to see what happens there. We might be forced to do something anyway, but yeah,
Wow. That feels like
we'll
just saying, well,
stay on it
here's the
for
glass
sure.
wall.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I understand why Dave said it, and I get his, intent there, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's clearly not what we would want, and yeah,
right, right.
that's such a concern. And I understand that the legislature might be taking this on as well, and so I'm glad to hear that. And so I feel
Yeah,
like we're going down the right path, trying to address this, and I appreciate your
definitely,
effort in that. So
definitely. I think it's
um,
something we need to get ahead of.
yeah, yeah. So hey, what else is going on in the Salt Lake County Council? Tell me, is there any good news?
Yeah, actually, we just wrapped up our budget season. We had our budget hearing meeting Tuesday as well. So it was a really long day, but the Republicans have been working really hard. Our staff has been working really hard to dive into the budget, to find as many cuts as we can, and to balance it. And so there's no tax increase. So
Oh, it's fantastic.
there's no tax increase coming from Salt Lake County this year, which is great news. And we'll keep working on this to make sure we do not have an increase next year as well.
That's really good
So
to hear.
I think that's good news. One more thing is from out of my office, I hosted an event this week in which I'm bringing forward some advisory boards to work on some issues related to the Cottonwood Canyons, which is part of my district. There's some issues as far as water issues, wildfire danger concerns, and some access issues as well. So I have people working on these boards who are experts. They live in the community, they live in the area, and just trying to bring people to the table to solve some lingering solutions that are not being handled at all. So that's my goal with that. So that was a great success, and I had a great turnout, and I'm just thankful for the people who have stepped up to help out and bring their expertise to the table.
That's great.
So yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
But other than that, we are done. I mean, that was we have one more meeting, and then we are done for the rest of the year at the county.
Perfect. Well,
but we'll always be working. We're always doing stuff. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's never done.
It's never over. It's never over.
Actually, really quick, going back to the other conversation we had earlier, it was mentioned earlier that this would be the topic of the changing room ordinance would be addressed again on the 12th. Is that true, or is this put to rest for
No, we don't have anything new to present at this time, so that actually won't be on the agenda for the 12th. So I hope no one's planning to show up. We did have a lot of people come in that spoke on the 5th, which was wonderful. It was great to have perspectives from both sides. So I appreciate that. Okay,
good. Well, that's good to know, and we'll try to make sure that the message is out there that that's the case, that it won't be heard again on the 12th. But there are other opportunities to deal with this in the future. So, well, that's great.
And I will say that people are always welcome to come to public comment, and they can comment on anything they want. So if someone didn't get to speak last time and it's something they're passionate about, they're welcome to come to our public comment and speak.
Okay.
Anytime.
Yeah. And
any
that's
meeting.
Great. I love that you guys, that you do that, and I'm really glad that, and you do a really good job, by the way, of managing that. I know Lori Stringham is the one. No, I'm sorry, it's not who. Now I'm getting.
Well, we have Amy right now, but they've both done a great job at managing. I mean, there's been some crazy times where we've had to manage large crowds, and we've done a good job. So yeah,
I've been really impressed. Amy Winder Newton did a great job, especially in the last one when it got, there was a lot to talk about, and
right,
job.
Yeah.
I was thinking back
definitely.
on another session when Lori was doing it, and she did it. So, well, I appreciate that. So one other topic that's come up recently is that the what do they call it? The International Olympic Committee, I think that's what they're called, has announced that Salt Lake County or Salt Lake City, I don't know which it is, but is the preferred host for the 2034 Olympics. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I mean, we had a great time when the Olympics were here years ago. We have some great snow here, and we have a lot of great venues. So it seems naturally fitting that we would be, preferred. And I think that's the key, is that they're suggesting that we are the preferred location. So it should be interesting as we move forward, because there's still a lot to be done, a lot to be done before that happens. But it's exciting. I think it's really exciting.
Yeah. I think there's been some things on my mind, and I actually talked to Dave Alvord, Councilman Dave Alvord, about this as well. As even before I knew about this, it's been on my mind that the roads and the weeds, and they're just not being
Oh
maintained as
yeah,
well.
on the yeah, it's true.
And I sure
Yeah,
hope we can take that on before. And I know that may not necessarily be a county issue. I think it's probably more a city and state UDOT. But
yeah, I think
that's
it's UDOT.
yeah, it would be really great to see that addressed because when I first moved here, gosh, 12 years ago, I noticed it then, and it doesn't seem like it's gotten any better. I was actually under the impression
Mm-mm.
that there was a lot of weeds where I was moving, and I thought, oh well, they're still developing, and it's going to get cleaned up. Well, it's just as bad now as it was then. So I really hope we can
Yeah,
address that before the Olympics, because I
for
think
sure.
I think that's something that and then the homelessness, right? I mean, uh,
Yeah,
we're in a
yeah, that's an
situation
issue
where
too.
there's a lot of homeless still, and I mean, there's. What do you think about that? What do you think the solution is for home? I mean, and I'm putting you on the spot here. I didn't even prep you for
No,
this,
it's
but
okay. That's okay.
what do you
We
think?
deal with this. It's it's we I was just at a press conference with Governor Cox actually, where he was presenting that he wants to put more money into homelessness, and it's a lot. I don't know if he's going to get that passed, but I do appreciate the effort because they did say it's a community issue because we do have homelessness in all over the county. It's not just downtown, and that is a big, daunting task, I'm sure. And it seems like no matter how much money you throw at it, right, it's still there. So I'm hoping that they're coming up with some different and more unique solutions rather than just the same old programs, the same things that we've
Right.
been doing for years that haven't worked. So
I
I'm
Yeah,
I'm interested in something that's different that shows some accountability and in some progress.
I agree
And
with you.
I don't think we've seen that.
No, I don't think so either. And to be honest, I heard what he had to say, and it seems like an awful lot of money to be
It was a lot.
spending.
Yeah,
Yeah, to be
it's a
spending
lot.
on what kind of feels like a lot of the same. I'm not trying to be critical of the governor, but
Sure.
I'd really
Yeah.
like to see it dealt with. Is look, being out on the street, being doing some of the things they're doing, it's crime. It is, and the reason it's a
Hmm.
crime is because it's dangerous, not just for people in the area, but it's also dangerous for themselves. I mean, people die in the freezing cold weather because they don't come in to the services that are already there. And I think there's a lot of mental health issues that are not being addressed properly. I know
Yeah.
that was part of what he talked about, which is
I think,
great.
yeah. Yeah. And I
But
think we're
yeah,
getting better at that. I really do. I think we're starting to address that more. I don't know if COVID, has been a part of that because I think everybody went crazy during COVID and they needed mental health, help after. And so I think we're seeing that more where it's like, hey, there's a lot of mental health issues out there and we need to address it. And homelessness definitely revolves around mental health.
it
Absolutely.
does.
So,
Yeah.
and the county did fund a temporary oh, sorry, I forget. I'm brain dead on the term, but we at the Huntsman Center, Huntsman Institute, we kind of put a temporary receiving center for people with mental health. So the people that actually would go to the ER or that would normally go to the jail, they can get rerouted to this institute and get help instead of getting arrested and then thrown back out, right, of jail
Right.
because they really can't hold them there because they maybe didn't do something like prevent, do a crime. And so they get released and then they end up back again. So it's helping with recidivism, I'm hoping, but I hope it gets people to the right care that they need. So I was supportive of this based on that. And I've know people who work in hospitals and it's the same people with mental health that come back through and they just keep coming back through and coming back through and it becomes this revolving door, and so I'm
Yeah.
hoping that this facility will help change that. So because we did put, it wasn't general fund dollars, but it was other funding that we put towards it, so I'm hopeful that this makes a difference. So, and I think mental health addressing that is gonna change things at least a little bit, at least I
Yeah.
hope. So
I think that one of the things that really helps is when there's a mental health issue. If they're out on the road, out on the street, that we can't really address thoroughly the mental health issue. They really need to be brought
no.
in. They need to be under the care. That we need to know where they're at. They could be watched and they could be given the proper medicines or whatever it is that they need. But when
Yeah.
they're homeless, that they really don't get what they need, even though they
No.
can check in and they check out and we don't see them for months, weeks, whatever. That's just not, to me, that's not sufficient. And so hopefully whatever we do provide is a more permanent solution until they've overcome that mental at least to the point where they can become independent again. So that to
Yeah.
me, that's a
Right.
solution we need to be looking at. And and a crime is a crime, and we need to
Sure.
recognize that, and I think that helps prevent the quote unquote camping, which it's just far too easy here in Utah.
Yeah.
We all have a
Yeah.
heart and we want to help them, but it's not
Yeah.
helping them by just giving them a blanket and putting them back out on the street.
No.
Right? So
No.
You know,
It's
we do have
temporary.
a member of the executive committee who's actually been advocating a lot in some of the group forums and things like that we're on, and at the executive committee meetings for the county party. That she's specializing in this sort of stuff, and it might be a good idea to have her on maybe and talk about it.
I'd love to do that. That'd be great. Maybe in the future. Yeah, for sure. Well, Dee, thank you so much for joining us today. I know there's a lot
Thanks
going
for
on.
having me on.
Yeah, I really appreciate our Republican council men and women, and you guys work so hard. And it's hard because you also many of you have day jobs too, and it's not an easy thing to do, to juggle all of that. So thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you. Thank you
And-
for all that you do. It's kind of the same. I mean, I know you have a day job and this is kind of on the side, and it takes a lot of time and work. So appreciate you.
Does. Thank you so much. Well, with that, I do want to kind of bring up some of the news in the party. So I'll be announcing Lincoln Day dinner on February 3rd. So we're going to have this at the University of Utah Ken Garf Center, and so the tickets are going to go on sale this Wednesday. I believe that's the 12th. I have to look at the calendar, but they're going to go on sale soon. And so the Lincoln Day dinner, look, this is an event. This is our biggest event that we do of the year for fundraising. And so, they're not cheap tickets, but what happens is this money goes to help the party to hold caucus. It helps to hold convention, and then it helps the nominees of the party, the ones who come out of convention, to promote them.
You want to know a fun fact?
Yeah, what's up?
So both parties do this, right?
Right.
We know that both parties do this. The traditional and the older name for the Democrat version of this dinner was the Jefferson-Jackson dinner. About 10 years ago, they dropped the name because Jefferson was a slave owner and Jackson was kind of controversial.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're like, this is controversial for being associated with a founding father, kind of controversial for us. So I was like, fun fact.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That is interesting. Yeah, and of course, now Lincoln, the founder of the father of the Republican Party, right? I love that we are celebrating him, but the reality is what we raise from this is helping our candidates and promoting our conservative platform. And then with that is caucus night on March 5th. So everyone needs to be prepared for that. Something that's going to be a little bit different that we haven't done in a while. I was told it did happen once previously, but I wasn't aware of it. Is we're going to do pre-registration for caucus night. And what that means is you can get online, go to our website, and you can pre-register to attend caucus, to credential for caucus. And when you do that, you're going to get an email back, and you're going to bring that email with you and your driver's license, and you'll be able to just walk in to kind of like a fast pass line, right? Like at Disneyland. Well, we won't use Disneyland anymore. They're not. But it's kind of a fast pass, and then the email will actually say, where you should go, and so you won't have to stand in the long line to actually verify your Republican credential.
I've actually got some questions about caucus night.
Yeah.
So this is actually coming from a few individuals that I've talked to just in my circle. So this isn't necessarily indicative of everyone, but this is something that I'm hearing. There's a narrative out there that we've moved the presidential primary to caucus night as a preference poll. Presidential caucuses aren't new in the United States.
Correct.
It's Iowa does it and a few other states do it. But we're doing this to try to bolster the numbers at caucus night in order to make the party more reflective of its base, rather than have a very small insulated few. Right. That's one of the reasons that I'm aware of. There's a narrative that I'm hearing out there that the state party did this to take away the vote of those who may not be in favor of Trump. Can you respond to that for me?
Wow, I can't think of a more absurd. And I'm sorry. That sounded like I was judging. No, that's absolutely not the point. And I can't imagine how it would do that anyway. Because the fact is, we all need to be attending. Republicans need to attend their caucus. Period. Despite whether we had the presidential primary that night or not, what we need to be attending, because this is when we're heard. We get to elect delegates who are going to be the ones promoting our platform. They're going to be the ones who are going to be meeting with all of the candidates who then they're going to nominate at convention. This is how the party works. This is how it's worked forever. And up until just recently, we started allowing people to gather signatures because the legislature passed that SB 54, which of course everybody knows that I am the biggest. I despise SB 54 and the ability to gather signatures. But this is what we do. We elect our delegates in our precinct caucuses. And the fact that we're going to have the presidential preference poll at the same time, I think is a good thing because we're going to have more participation. And I think that what we're going to see is more participation in the primary this way than otherwise. The other thing that what it does is it also puts Utah kind of in the forefront. It means that the candidates for the president, the campaign who are going to campaign as Republicans for president, are more interested in Utah than they would have been, right? And by the way, it also saves Utah a ton of money because now we're not actually having to hold a special primary for that. So there's a number of positives for that, and I'd love to talk to anybody who thinks otherwise. Maybe I'm not seeing the whole story. I don't know.
I have someone you can talk to.
Okay, well, we'll do that because I mean maybe they've got a good point somewhere. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing, but I didn't have anything to do with the decision, and I think it's mostly the legislature who got to make that decision. I believe that the state party chair had some influence in that as well. But overall, this is the way the party works.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is I think that there's a narrative out there that this was done to remove the franchise from certain individuals, and I don't see how that's possible. And so while I'm going to push on you just a little bit, Chris,
sure,
I think calling it absurd is a little harsh, misinformed maybe.
Yeah.
But there's that narrative out there, and the thing is the Democratic Party. They function the same way. They haven't decided to. They have their candidate's the incumbent so far, but they could do the same thing if they wanted to, and they function essentially in a similar manner with the caucus system. But I think that there's the issue right now is with that narrative that's being put out there, and I would really like to bring it up here so we can address it here, and then if you can take it up to other members of the party, that there's this thing that needs to be pushed back on just a little bit.
Also remember that we did the same thing. I believe it was 2016.
We did.
And
I actually flew. This is the thing I actually flew home from Virginia. I was serving in the military. I flew home from Virginia to participate, and I knew that there was ways I could have participated otherwise. And I know we're looking into those.
Yeah. You so there is the option for what are they calling it? The absentee ballot, right? And so we are going to account for that. But we've done this before. Prior to, of course, that was the first time that Trump ran, but clearly we didn't do it for that reason back then, right?
Well, no, because Trump lost that one.
Yeah,
it was
that's true. It was
Cruz
Ted Cruz.
that won.
Yeah. That's when I first started getting involved more heavily in the executive committee with the party, and I actually went to my caucus with my Ted Cruz hat on, and now I would actually discourage something like that. But at the time, I was a strong Ted Cruz supporter. Because Trump had no experience prior to that, right? We didn't really know what he was going to do, but he did what he said, and I love it.
Well, be careful, you're going to walk a fine line there.
I know.
Every faction of the party has a strong opinion on Trump.
I love him and I hate him.
Don't we all?
I think, but here, I'm going to say it now since you already brought it up. I think if we believe that only Trump can drive the bus to success, then we've already failed, because someday Trump's not going to be around.
If he does win this next time, he's constitutionally ineligible to win a second time. It will be a second time.
We'll get to that when we get to that, but I don't even want to address that yet. But if he wins, great. I'll support him 100%. In fact, I'd like to see him win, to be perfectly honest. But I also don't think that some of the other candidates are incapable. I think they're very capable, and I just don't want to see people dismiss other candidates as being ultra moderate or whatever they're going to get called, right? I just don't want to see that happen.
How does the minority leader of the U.S. House put it? Ultra MAGA extremists.
Yeah. Look, if Trump's the only guy who can drive the bus, again, then we've already failed. There are plenty of people, other Republicans who can do what Trump did. Now, Trump's already proven himself to me, so I'm kind of, I lean that way a little bit. But anyway, hey, let me get back to Go
ahead. I derailed you.
No, you're good. So, okay, that was caucus night is March 5th. A county convention, so the Salt Lake County Convention will be on April 13th officially, but we also hold a meet and greet the night before on the 12th. So we'll have that. And for that, we want the delegates, the county delegates, to attend that, and so they can nominate our candidates for any of the elections that are held within the county. So
there's usually also a strong presence by some of the federal there,
Yes.
federal people there.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be a state delegate, the meet and greet night is a great night to come.
It is.
It's a little bit smaller crowd. You might get actually some
better access.
Yeah, access.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? And to be fair, while we mostly encourage the county delegates to attend, it is open to the party, right? So any party member is encouraged to join us, but obviously they don't get a vote. So that's kind of the key. And then the state convention is going to be on April 27th, and I'm hearing, I need to double check this, but I'm hearing that is going to be held in Salt Lake County. So that's exciting for us to hold it locally again. And again, they'll probably hold a meet and greet the night before, but I'm not in charge of that, so I don't get to say. But that's usually what happens. And so the state delegates will attend the state convention April 27th. And then I should have said this first, but this coming December 13th, we're going to have our e-club, and it's going to be at Tushars Brazilian Barbecue. I almost had the name wrong, but Tushars Brazilian Barbecue. And we're going to have Chris Stavros, who's the county assessor, current county assessor there, and he's running again, and he's going to come and talk to us. So here's the funny thing. Everyone says, well, what does a county assessor do? Are they the ones responsible for my taxes? Ask Chris that, because he has the best answer. It's amazing. I actually, out of all of the e-club that I've had in the past, we've done this for 3 years now, Chris actually did one of the best ones, and he described exactly what he does, and I just loved it. I think he did a fantastic job.
Okay.
So,
Where's the eatery located, the Brazilian barbecue?
so it's in South Jordan. And am I saying that wrong? Oh man. Okay, look on our website. It's on 106th, and it's over I think what the crossroad is there. But it's just look up Tushars Brazilian Barbecue and you'll find it. Google Map it.
And then who's invited?
Yes, thank you for clarifying, because we want everyone to attend these. However, we hold these for our e-club members. An e-club member is somebody who has paid or has signed up to pay $10 or more a month to be a part of the e-club. They get a pin. It's the party pin. It's one that we designed since I was chair, and then they get the invite for this every once a month to talk with a legislator or somebody who's.
This will sound super cheesy, but I actually I like pins. The pin was pretty cool. You gave it to me right off your own collar, so
I love the pin. I'm super proud of that pin. We had I called it the circus looking logo previously with the party. That's been around for a long time, but it looked like everybody else's, and so we adopted this new logo with the party, for the Salt Lake County party, and we immediately made pins and some other things, and I love it. I think it's great. I'm super proud of it, and I hope it sticks around for a long time.
Yeah, I got the sticker of it on the outside of our studio door.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's cool. So it maybe a little bit of a legacy thing for me too. So, but hey, yeah, and so if you're not a member of the e-club, look, come join us anyway. Please consider donating. The party needs the donations. We don't have the outsider money coming in like some other parties.
Yeah, there's not just knowing the treasurer, because I helped him on his legislative race. Just knowing the treasurer and hearing how he talks and what you talk about and things like that. It's not like everything that gets donated to the national party is going to end up filtering down to us.
Oh no, I've never gotten a penny from the national party.
And the thing is, so the gentleman I introduced you at the county central committee meeting. He got calls from individuals saying, "No, we want you to donate to the national party." I'm like, "No, donate to the local party, because
Right.
that is where your dollar's going to make the most difference."
It's very true, and I'm not just saying this because I'm the Salt Lake County party chair. The truth is, the local money affects the local races far more than any other money. And by the way, if you donate directly to a candidate, which I do encourage, that's great. But the problem is, they're not. When you donate to the party, you're donating to the idea that the platform matters. Those principles matter. When you donate to a candidate, yeah, they're gonna ask you, what do you think, right? But it's pretty clear when the party's able to donate to a candidate that, hey, these are our principles: faith, family, freedom. Those the things that are listed on our platform. And so it's a very clear message. We want you to be a strong conservative. We don't want you to be a moderate conservative. We don't want you to be a lefty conservative. We want you to be a true conservative based on these party platform, the party platform that's out there. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm going to say, look, if you are nominated by the party, it's because we believe that you're going to be promoting these things. Here's some money to help you because you were nominated. But it's a very different message than if you donate directly to a candidate, which I still encourage. Candidates would kill me if I said otherwise.
Oh yeah, my rule of thumb is donate to the party, work for the candidate.
There you go.
So
I like that.
Volunteer for the candidate because
Perfect.
they need volunteers more than anything else. Because there's nothing. The most engaged, the most effective method to engage a voter is a face-to-face conversation, and they have a really hard time doing that.
For sure.
But if they have a volunteer show up at the door, that's the second best thing. So donate to the party, work for the candidate.
Yep. Well, hey, I've got one more piece of news, and then that's about all I've got for today, unless you had any other questions for me. But the last piece of news is we did get the bylaw passed that allowed us to better represent. It allows the party to be better represented by its delegates. And the way that this happens is this new bylaw that got passed. What we do is, instead of every precinct getting a delegate, which is the way it was before. And by the way, when I say every precinct, every county precinct, how the county determines to cut up the county into precincts. Instead of every county precinct getting a delegate, what we've decided is, why don't we look at where the average number of, or let's put it this way, why don't we combine some of those precincts so that there's an average number of active registered Republicans for every delegate? Because what was happening is we had precincts where there would be 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 registered Republicans in that precinct, and they would get a full delegate. And then there was precincts that would have 600. There's literally one that had 650 registered Republicans who got 2 delegates. Well, that doesn't make sense, right? Because if you look at, okay, well, how many people they represent? If you divide that by 2, that's 325 active registered Republicans that each delegate is representing versus one delegate who's representing possibly themselves or maybe 10 people. And there was a lot of this going on. It also made it really hard. We'd have empty precinct rooms at Caucus in the past. And so nobody would show up. And then I actually had a campaign manager come to me at one time, who was a former campaign manager, and said, hey, look, when we ran, we ran a campaign, we actually looked for those precincts that we knew nobody would show up, and we made sure that somebody who supported us showed up to get that delegate position. And it allowed us to win when otherwise we wouldn't have. And I thought, wow, that's a problem. That means you're not truly representing the party as much as you should. And so what this bylaw did is it said, okay, if you have, it's kind of a complicated thing, but basically in the end, each precinct to get a delegate is going to have to have an average ratio of registered Republicans to get a delegate. So we'll combine the county precincts into what we're calling caucus precincts. Excuse me. So county precincts are going to be combined into caucus precincts so that they have enough active registered Republicans to actually represent the delegate will represent the same number of registered Republicans as all the other precincts. So I'm probably not explaining it super well, but what this means is the party is truly going to be represented better than in the past. I believe. It's phenomenal.
I was there at that. Oh, that was a heck of a county central committee meeting.
Yeah.
2 hours of solid debate. The efforts that were put in, especially by certain members of the bylaws committee, Mr. Fred Cox.
Yeah, he did a great job.
The work that was put in by the individual the individual, because they're precinct chairs. Mm-hmm. The individual precinct chairs that showed up, we had a very vigorous policy debate over the question. And you even had to, because you were one of the sponsors, you even had to step down as the chair of the meeting.
Yeah.
So the bottom line, some of everything that you said, the bottom line is we are attempting to, and how did I put it? I said we were attempting to solve the problem of super delegates in rotten precincts.
Right. Exactly.
And if you know your history of super delegates in the Democratic Party, they had the ability to vote and weren't beholden to anyone because by virtue of them just basically holding some office or having held some office. And then if you know your history about the English parliamentary system, you know what a rotten borough is. If you don't, I really encourage you to look it up. But the idea was we were getting rid of these delegates that didn't, and the precinct chairs and individuals that could just walk in and sweep the floor, and you had no clue who they were or what they were doing, and they had a voice in your party.
Exactly. And I saw that was a huge problem. It also, there's something else there's a number of problems with it. I think I found like 10 different issues that came up. But another problem that we had was if we didn't fill those delegate positions, then we had to readdress that, at least the state delegate position. We had to readdress that at the county convention. Well, at the last county convention, we had so many, we ended up staying an extra 4 hours in those legislative districts to fill those.
Yeah,
it was a mess.
I had to lead one of those special
elections.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
It's like who's gonna walk in, and then everyone's just standing there like, I don't even know what I'm doing. It's like, well, I did this as a precinct chair. I can do it now.
Yeah.
So
it was hard. It was a long day already, and then we said, okay, now we're just getting started because we got to go do this, right? And it was just, so one of the nice things about this is because we're combining those precincts that either nobody's going to show up in or there just won't be sufficient representation in. Because they're combined with other precincts and we're creating these caucus precincts, that should not happen. There should be, I'm estimating, no less than 30 to 40 in attendance at every precinct. Now, I could be wrong. We'll see. The hope is that there'll be enough that when somebody says, I want to be a delegate, people will say, I'm going to challenge you. What do you really believe in, right? It won't be somebody who just gets to go in and go, hey, look, I'm the only person in the room. I'm going to sign my name. I'm now the delegate. Right.
Yeah, that's what almost happened to me. There was 3 other people, an elderly couple, and then a neighbor down the way.
Y'all roll the dice or something, flip a coin.
No, as I walked in, I had some high school experience in leading meetings.
Yeah.
So I was able to stand up there, and we did that. And the 2 elderly couples are like, "We're not going to any of these meetings." And the girl, the neighbor, was a girl who's just like, "I have no clue what I'm doing."
Yeah.
I was just told to be here.
Yeah.
And come to find out, she probably wasn't really a Republican for very much longer, based off of what I know about the individual. But
well, we all saw the tweets, right? Did you see the tweets where people were saying, "Hey, look, I walked into Republican caucus and I registered to be a Republican there, and now I'm a delegate." And to me, that just made me sick as the chair. I thought, wow, this is a mess.
Well, the other side of that is I think one of the good things, bringing it back to preference poll at caucus night, we're doing it the same night as the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats want to influence our decisions,
right?
They're going to have to give up the ability to influence their decisions,
right? Yeah.
And in addition to that, I was sitting at a diner. It was actually a rather nice eatery that I was out. It's a Italian eatery up the way, and one of the individuals there, who is just a diehard socialist, as far as they will confess to you, was like, "Yeah, I signed up as a Republican just so I could vote for a certain candidate."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's fine, but that's the primary thing, and that's after convention.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what, I really feel strongly that what we did in that last Central Committee meeting where we passed this amendment, I think you're going to see that not happen as much.
And that's one of the goals, because even the Democratic Party doesn't want that to happen.
Right. Oh yeah, it's funny because I've talked to the Democrat leadership, and they said, yeah, we don't like it either. We think it diminishes our purpose. And so it really is it's a win-win for both parties, and it kind of it's a way to ensure that we're really properly representing the conservatives in Utah, and I think it's going to result in a more conservative party. At least that's my hope, right? So hey, I'm super excited about that. I think there's some other things that we can do, but I think this is a big step in the right direction. But hey, we got to end it, and I thank you so much for taking the time, Nathan, putting this together. And I can't wait to have the next one.
I know you're not used to talking on radios or anything like that, but don't forget to thank the listener, man.
Oh my
Like and
gosh.
subscribe.
Yeah, like and
I'm all the YouTube stuff.
Like and subscribe. Click here. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Hey, thank you. And I do want to thank all the volunteers, all of the people who do all the work on the groundwork, and who are helping the campaigns and the candidates. And oh my gosh, there's so many good people.
And Dee for just listening as I set up all this, like that was, she was incredibly patient. So
they don't the audience doesn't know about that. That was a lot of work in the background that had to be done. And thank you for and I contacted you earlier today and said, hey, can we do this today? So thank you very much for what you do.
Well, that's it, dear sweet listener, and thank you for listening to the Salt Lake County Republican Party broadcast, and that's all we got for you tonight.